Before you start yelling at me in the comments for it, yes, I did kind of steal this video idea from the Cosmonaut Variety Hour. Kinda. He proposed and laid the foundations for the possibility of a Persona-like X-Men game, but I'm gonna fully dive into it. Talk about possibilities for whole narratives and plot lines, relationship dynamics, character arcs, villains, and aspects for gameplay. I'm gonna put all my ideas in the public for free, because if they get put in the game, I don't care either way if I get compensated for it, because I just want it to happen. Please make this game, it would be so fun. I'm gonna borrow many ideas from Cosmonaut's videos, but I'll take creative liberties with them to make them more of my own. I put a lot of thought and time into this video, so I hope you have as much fun watching it as I had making it. Though I will be completely stealing the idea of...
In this game, our character is a mutant whose abilities are influenced by who they spend their time with. If you hang out with a lot of psychics, you get more psychic abilities. If you hang out with people that shoot laser beams, you shoot laser beams better.
The time setting here will be about the second generation of X-Men succeeding their predecessors. In the lore of the game, the first generation team of X-Men consisted of Beast, Storm, Colossus, Havoc, Banshee, and Charles Xavier. This story will start 3 months after Charles Xavier was paralyzed in his last battle with Magneto, with him retiring as the leader of the X-Men and principal of the school, and focusing more on mutant and human relation activist politics. The new leadership in the X-Men is a bit messy now, with no one being able to decide who the leader of the X-Men will be. Beast and Storm were the oldest friends of the professors, so they think one of them should be the new leader, or principal. With Xavier no longer being an X-Men, Beast, Colossus, and Banshee focus on teaching, science/math, history, and English/music respectively. The X-Men need more recruits for the battle against mutant injustice. Cyclops is an obvious choice, being the brother of Havoc, the only first-generation veteran X-Men still on the team, acting as temporary leader, while Storm's the temporary principal while Charles is away. The popular teacher's pet, valedictorian Jean Grey, is also chosen as a new member. Also, the new grumpy gym teacher who replaced Colossus, who everyone liked as the gym teacher, Wolverine, who has also a mysterious past vibe about him. And last but not least, your original character. After you get all the exposition during the school day, you're called to an immediate X-Men emergency briefing, telling you gotta save a mutant being hunted down by a sentinel. You and your fellow X-Men get in the Blackbird and fly to the scene of the conflict. You run around the fire and explosions in the city streets with your party to the sentinel, except Wolverine runs ahead of you, claws out, and immediately attacks the sentinel by himself. You will go into a cutscene of Wolverine slicing apart the sentinel's leg, but he gets caught in the sentinel's hand, completely surrounded in it, and then is crushed with blood exploding from its metal fingers. Yes, this story is gonna be dark. You then engage in the first playable fight in the game, which is a turn-based, because, you know, Persona. Cyclops, Jean Grey, and your character pale in comparison to the damage output and health of Havoc as you fight the legless Sentinel. When you get it to a health of 20%, the Sentinel will fire a large laser towards Havoc, and then we'll play a cutscene of it going straight through Havoc as he falls to the ground dead. Cyclops runs to his brother and kneels to his side, crying, and then yells at the Sentinel and blasts a full power beam from his eyes and almost destroys the Sentinel. He passes out, but the Sentinel is still functional and powers up one more blast to kill all of you. But then you use your mutant powers to blast your own full power beam from your eyes, clashing with the Sentinel's beam, which ends up blowing up everything, ending the scene in white. You wake up in your bed with a headache to see Storm standing at your door. She will tell you that you're the biggest reason why you and all of your friends are alive and safe right now. You'll ask if Wolverine and Havoc are still alive, and she'll say yes to Wolverine, but she'll say no to Havoc. Storm will then explain to you that the X-Men needed a new leader, and that leader is you. Your mutant ability to gain powers from the mutants you hang out with lets you relate to your fellow mutants in a way uncannily similar to Charles Xavier. You try to get out of your newly found responsibilities, but Storm isn't having it. She gives you the task of recruiting new X-Men from your classmates, and then leaves the room to get back to her job as principal. You then go about your school days as normal until lunch, where Jean sits next to you to discuss new team member options. She reads everyone in the school's mind to try and determine good candidates. You get these names from her: Kurt Wanger, Bobby Drake, Kitty Pryde, and Jubilation Lee. Yes, the gay duo of Nightcrawler and Iceman are the first bonds you can make in this game. I'm also taking Cosmonaut's rule of your character being pansexual so you can romance every character your age, you know. We're not romancing the fucking 148-year-old Canadian with swords in his hands. You get some downtime in the plot so you can recruit some of them. Nightcrawler will be a kind of wander, free spirit kind of character. If you get a high enough friendship level with him, you'll unlock fast travel, only if he's in your party, until eventually you develop his powers on your own, and then you can just do it yourself. Bobby's personality will be like Dick Grayson, including him being bisexual. He'll also be caked up too. He's also a popular pretty boy with a good fun charm. Kitty Pryde will be the girl who obviously has a crush on you but doesn't say anything about it because she wants you to be the one to admit the feelings first. She will also take you to mutant pride protests. If you choose to eventually date or friend zone her, you develop her power to phase through stuff, which will let you run away from all fights except boss fights. Jubilee will introduce you to video games and movies and other stuff you can do to hang out with your friends or go on a date. Also during this time, you'll go to classes and train in the Danger Room with Wolverine. At this point in the game, you cannot bond with Wolverine yet because you haven't fought beside him long enough. He thinks you're a little pussy. He also doesn't like the fact you're a leader because you're just a high schooler, so he's kind of a bit of an ass to you at the beginning. He's also Short King 5'5". Different stats will increase in different classes. Like Colossus's history class will up your knowledge and wisdom stats, and PE or the Danger Room will increase your strength and agility. You can also bond with Jean Grey, and I will also steal this from Cosmonaut's video too.
Oh my god, just imagine how fun a romantic subplot would be if the character you're romancing is a psychic who knows what dialogue options you can pick from.
You can't befriend Cyclops yet because he's depressed that his brother died. This break time will last 2 weeks in game time, like Persona. And then the first arc of the game will start. You will go as a friend group to a mutant pride rally with whoever you made a friendship with in the last 2 weeks. Even Cyclops will go with you though, because Jean convinces him to. Everything is going fine until someone yells for all mutants to die and pulls out a gun. It almost fires, but then the gun just disappears from his hands. Then something really fast runs by and punches him 3 times and the guy gets knocked out. The fast thing stops above him and we see who it is. Quicksilver, and not the comic version. We're gonna pull the one straight from the 20th Century Fox movies and put him in this game. He starts joking while giving a speech about how mutants will always resort to violence because they're that awful and that mutants should not let them be the end of themselves. You and your classmates confront Quicksilver, revealing you are all X-Men. Quicksilver responds by saying he's never seen these X-Men before, which makes sense because most of you guys have not been X-Men before today. He then says he's a part of his own team, and he says that you might have heard of them before. He exclaims the name as the Brotherhood of Mutants as they teleport around him in a red glow. His sister, the Scarlet Witch, teleported the rest of the team, which includes Emma Frost, Rogue, and Gambit, Juggernaut, and of course, Magneto. You all immediately recognize Magneto as the mortal enemy of the X-Men since the beginning, and more violent side to mutant activism. People run away as chaos ensues. A battle begins with your X-Men against Rogue, Gambit, and Quicksilver. Magneto preaches his ideas during the battle, and Emma Frost and Jean Grey get into a psychic battle. After your X-Men win, it cuts to a cutscene inside the minds of Jean and Emma Frost. Frost. This scene can get really trippy and have a lot of symbolism for Jean. It ends with Emma Frost winning and also expressing an interest in Cyclops, ending with Jean passing out in the real world and Cyclops blasting Emma Frost out of rage for Jean. But Emma's shown to be fine as she's protected by her now diamond skin. But then Juggernaut decides to join the fray, and right before you can fight, the Blackbird lands behind you as Wolverine and Storm come out of it to join the fight. This will then open to a boss with Juggernaut, now with Wolverine in your party. In the background of the fight, you can see Magneto and Storm fighting with lightning and metal in sparkling explosions. After you beat Juggernaut, Quicksilver regains consciousness as he quickly carries all of his teammates away from the area. He wakes up his sister and announces they all have to escape too. Rogue and Gambit awake as well and sees Emma Frost close to you and your X-Men, with Juggernaut passed out on the floor next to her. She screams that she surrenders and wants to be taken by the X-Men. Quicksilver responds, screaming that this wasn't a part of the plan, and she exclaims that she doesn't care and she's found something that interests her more as she looks at Cyclops. Jean's knocked out, so she can't tell Emma's mind to know if this is a trap or not. So your X-Men are skeptical. Emma then telepathically forces Gambit and Rogue to join her as they stand by her side by side. Magneto then hits Storm with a piece of metal, knocking her out. She hits the floor from the air, but you can tell she doesn't die. Magneto levitates to the Brotherhood of Mutants and says none of them are X-Men without Charles, as Scarlet Witch teleports them away. You take Emma Frost and the others into custody, forcing them to stay at the school and putting them under close supervision. You go into another break period where you can now bond with Gambit, Rogue, Emma Frost, and Cyclops because he's more out of it now. Jean is closed off because of her psychic fight with Emma, so she's in the medical bay for the time being. Gambit and Rogue kinda don't know why they decided to come for obvious reasons, but Emma did something to their brains so they wouldn't question it. Gambit is just a cute French skater boy. Rogue will be goth, but if you don't romance her, she will end up with Gambit and become less goth and become more like her comic book counterpart, or like, you know, X-Men 97. Also, if you don't hang out with Cyclops or Emma, they will hang out in this time frame, and she will comfort him about his brother's recent death. When Emma was in Jean's mind, she fell in love with how Jean felt about Scott. That will become important later when Jean recovers from the battle and leaves the medical bay a week after the battle. She gets mad that we took in Emma and the others, and even threatens to kill Emma Frost. She calms down, but she'll get jealous of how much Scott and Emma are hanging out now. If they are. You see, if they didn't get the chance to hang out that whole week, Jean won't get jealous and she will comfort Scott and not Emma. Either way helps one of the girls get more of a chance to end up with Cyclops. If you romance anyone but Jean Grey, she will end up with Scott. But if you date Jean Grey, Cyclops will date Emma Frost. The day before Jean recovers, Professor X makes a statement on the news claiming that any mutant who joins the Brotherhood is not one of them and shames mutants everywhere. A reporter then accuses him of lying, revealing that Magneto and Charles used to be very close friends, with Magneto even being one of the first X-Men. This ends with Charles being escorted away as everyone in the audience either yelling questions at him or calling him a freak. After Jean wakes up, Beast devises a plan to use Cerebro to find the Brotherhood, either using Jean or Emma's minds. Whoever you have a higher bond with uses Cerebro. It's that simple. Jean will do it and fail if you don't hang out with her enough, and Emma will do it instead. If you or Cyclops have a good bond with Jean though, she will succeed at using Cerebro. You find the Brotherhood of Mutants on the island of Genosha. We fly on the Blackbird over there, and it's full of jungle with a nice large house in a field. Magneto and the rest of them are there waiting as they knew they would be found eventually. Quicksilver tells your character a joke, and if you choose choose your character to laugh at it, it'll affect something later. Now it's an all-out turn-based battle against Magneto, Quicksilver, Scarlet Witch, Juggernaut, and new member Pyro. You can only have 3 people plus Wolverine on your team, depending on who you started relationships with. You could also now choose Gambit, Rogue, or Emma Frost. After you defeat the Brotherhood of Mutants, you take off Magneto's helmet and either Jean or Emma mind control him to sleep. And then you arrest all of them, giving them power dampening collars. If you laughed at Quicksilver's joke, he runs away before you can catch him. The Magneto arc is now complete, and we get some time to chill. If Quicksilver escaped, he'll appear at the mansion 2 days later in quote-unquote disguise. If you talk to him, he'll ask you to please not rat him out and give him a chance, as he really doesn't want to be a villain anymore. Everyone already knows it's him though, and if you spend a lot of time on him, getting him to open up to you, you can eventually get him to be an X-Men. But it's a really long side quest bond thingy. Like, I want it to be a reward getting him on your team. Like, I want him to also be pretty powerful. Also, you've been in enough shit with Wolverine to actually start a bond with him. He can also introduce your character to music, which he'll then be a great presence in your music class with Banshee. For other side quests, you can also start a new bond with your new theater teacher, Angel, and he can also join your team as an X-Men. Also, you can also help Gambit ask out Rogue if you aren't dating either of them. Banshee can also be recruited as an X-Men as well. You can also start a quest line with Beast to make him start building your team's specialized equipment and cosmetics. This is how you'll make alternate costumes for your X-Men. Now, it's time for the Weapon X arc. This will start 3 in-game weeks after your final battle with Magneto. You'll be invited to go to the mall with the gang by Kitty Pryde. She also invited Logan now that he's starting to soften up towards the team. It'll be a long cutscene of them hanging out, doing fun stuff, until it's brutally interrupted by Sabretooth coming out of nowhere and slashing Wolverine's gut open. It opens as a turn-based fight, but Sabretooth depletes all of your health fast. Your party is you, Kitty, Gambit, and Rogue. And then, in a new cutscene, Sabretooth is about to kill Gambit, but Wolverine yells at Sabretooth to turn around and kill who he's actually here for. Wolverine stands up fully healed with his claws out, ready to fight. The cutscene will then be a, hear me out, QTE fight with Wolverine versus Sabretooth. After Wolverine wins, right before he ends Sabretooth's life, he gets shot by someone very far away. Thought you could run away from your past, huh, Wolvie? Deadpool with a smoking pistol appears right next to Omega Red. Sorry we let Sabretooth out of our sight. We have no problem with you. He really just hates you. Omega Red quickly takes Sabretooth with his metal tentacles, and just like that, they're gone. Logan falls as your character goes to check on him. Logan wakes up in the medical bay and leaves immediately. You, Storm, and Gambit go to confront him at the entrance of the school before he leaves. Storm asks what the hell were they, and Logan just says, part of my past to bury. Later, you're talking with Gambit and Kitty about Logan. Gambit remembers how he saved him, and he needs to repay that by helping him. Logan was very clear that no one goes with him, but Gambit doesn't care. Kitty formed a bond with Logan and got to know him as well, so she also wants to help. Your character agrees to go with them, and Rogue comes too because she also appreciates Wolverine saving Gambit. You ask Jean Grey to locate Logan. You also ask Nightcrawler to teleport you there. You teleport inside this dark base with lab equipment everywhere. Nightcrawler can't seem to teleport out now, so he decides to join your party too. You will then go on a dungeon crawl of the Weapon X facility, fighting multiple guards and finding loot, following the claw marks and blood Wolverine leaves in his hunt. Later on, you find Deadpool on the floor, bloody and dead. Rogue comments on how ugly he is. Deadpool then comes back to life and tells Rogue some Ryan Reynolds humor.
Because we don't love f***ing our customers over like Big Wireless. We're bringing back our offer for unlimited premium wireless for only $15 a month. Me to the moon and back. That's a great deal.
And then you have a boss fight with him. It's clear in the gameplay and dialogue that he's toying with you and your team, but before your character is defeated, a cutscene starts of Gambit realizing Deadpool can't die. So he touches Deadpool and blows him up to Kingdom Come. Wolverine then comes flying from off screen, and then the camera turns to where he came from and we see them. Sabretooth, Omega Red, and X-23. Gambit notices her claws and asks Wolverine if that's his kid. All Wolverine says is that he doesn't know and he don't care. After another fight with Wolverine and your party happens, when Wolverine almost kills Sabretooth, but Gambit stops him, telling him he needs to be better than Sabretooth and not resort to brutally killing him. Wolverine spares Sabretooth and they take X-23 back to the school and thus ending the second arc of the game. What's the third arc? I don't know actually. I want to ask all of you to type in the comments.
Écoute mon cœur, où es-tu maintenant? Il s'agit d'attendre toute ma vie. N'entends-tu pas ma petite voix? Je t'attends depuis longtemps. Je t'attendrai.